The Ukraine-Russia war has dragged on for far longer than anyone expected. And now we stare at stubbornly high oil prices, disrupted supply chains of essential metals, and rising prices of many of the commodities like steel, cement, which go into constructing real estate. Today on the Property Show, the impact of Russia-Ukraine war on property prices and also on timely delivery of projects. Pradeep Aggarwal, Chairman at Signature Global, Dhaval Ajmera, Director at Ajmera Realty, Infra and Secretary of CREDAI, MCHI, and Sharad Mittal, CEO, Motilal Oswal Real Estate will join us for this big debate. We also decode an important order by Maharera, which allows the homeowner to exit a project due to false information given by the builder in its marketing brochure. Will this order deter developers from overpromising and under-delivering? Avikshit Moral, partner at Indus Law, will join us to give more insights into this. But let's take a quick look at how foreign geopolitical tensions really affect real estate. Now, prices of a variety of commodities, including oil, cement, LPG, diesel, wheat, rise, making everyday living for people more expensive and reducing their disposable income, savings and purchasing power. So what happens? They have lesser money to buy something like a home. There's also a rise in prices of steel, cement and other building materials like electrical fittings, tiles, etc., which increases the cost of construction for developers, putting pressure on their profitability and sometimes, if they are a very small developer, even the ability to complete a project. Now, these inflationary pressures compel the central bank to also at some time raise interest rates to tame inflation, which eventually translates into rising home loan rates. Pradeep ji, I'm going to come to you first. Thank you so much for joining us on NDTV. Now, Signature Global has been delivering homes in the most needed segment, which is mid and affordable housing. Are you able to absorb these costs, or do you have no choice but to pass these costs to the end home buyer?
So, Manisha, definitely जो margins हैं affordable housing में वो बहुत thin हैं.
Correct.
और कम मार्जिन्स की ऊपर बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट इस वक्त हम फेस कर रहे हैं. आप अगर हरियाणा की अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग पॉलिसी की बात करें तो जो प्राइस ब्रैकेट है वो फिक्स है वहां, क्योंकि आपको 4200 रुपीज स्क्वायर फीट के ऊपर आपको डिलीवरी करनी है. अगर ये और कंटिन्यू अगर रहता है प्राइस राइज जैसा अभी चल रहा है लास्ट 2 से 3 मंथ से, तो आई थिंक सो ये एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज बनेगा अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के लिए. और मुझे लगता है जहां हाउसिंग फॉर ऑल जो मिशन बना हुआ है इस वक्त कि हर परिवार को एक घर देना है, ऐसे में गवर्नमेंट को कोई ना कोई ऐसे स्टेप उठाने होंगे जिससे जो मिलने वाला जो मटेरियल है उसके ऊपर लगने वाली चाहे जीएसटी हो या अदर जो टैक्सेस हैं उनसे रिलीफ मिल सके, या जो ये प्राइस ब्रैकेट है हरियाणा गवर्नमेंट का इसके अंदर प्राइस को इंक्रीज किया जा सके. अदरवाइज आने वाले वक्त में अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग को सेम पेस में देना बहुत डिफिकल्ट होगा.
I can understand, and I think the maximum gap, Pradeep ji, is in affordable housing, so we do need a solution there. Dhaval, now both Maharashtra and NCR chapters of CREDAI have threatened to halt construction if the government does not do something to rein in prices, and that of course includes bringing down GST on inputs. 46% of developers also said that they foresee a delay in delivery timelines of ongoing projects. My question is, how do we expect the home buyer to end up bearing all the risks?
So, Manisha, I think Pradeep ji, mentioned it very clearly that, over the last 2 months, if you see through the pandemic, the cost of raw material were rising and they were slowly rising, and which was being absorbed by the developer, because at the same time, every developer wanted to have their momentum going, sales happening, and fortunately sales were also happening well. And it was a lucrative and a cash generating market. People were happy with it and things were moving in a positive direction. But suddenly, after the Russia-Ukraine war, the spike in raw material went up suddenly. And if you see that kind of a uncertainty, and we thought this might be a temporary, but as you rightly said, that we don't see an end of this coming. And with this, the prices are just being, going up and they have not been rationalized. I mean, there is not enough and more margin in a development, and especially even if you take it primarily affordable and mid-segment price housing, which is like 80 or 90% of our entire India market. I think it is going to affect. And rather than today, if somebody as a developer, trying to start the project and then halting it in midway because there will be cash crunch, there will be no money coming in, there will be, mismatch of funds. It is better to probably halt for a bit, let the price stabilize, and then probably continue at a price where the steel prices today, which are at 60,000 or 70,000, come back to 40, 45 levels, which will actually make affordable housing, which will actually make the, purchases more affordable and required to the T.
Right.
And that's how we can do construction.
Pradeep ji, would you agree that you'd rather not take on any new projects unless there is some moderation of the input cost prices, as Dhaval is saying, than to stop a project midway?
I think so. ये पॉसिबल नहीं है, यानी क्योंकि जब आप एक पर्टिकुलर टाइमलाइन के अंदर अगर उन प्रोजेक्ट्स को डिलीवर करना चाहते हैं, तो जो आपके जो कस्टमर उनकी भी एक एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि जो टाइमलाइन डिसाइड की गई है उसके अंदर वो प्रोजेक्ट आपका डिलीवर होगा. तो मुझे लगता है कि मिड ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट उसे स्टॉप करना कंस्ट्रक्शन को कि कमोडिटी प्राइसेस डाउन चले जाएंगे, इस बेसिस के ऊपर मुझे लगता है ये एक बहुत बड़ा बैट होगा. दूसरी बड़ी बात कि जो नए प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं उनकी लॉन्चिंग जरूर डिस्टर्ब होगी, लेकिन क्योंकि आप ऐसा नहीं है कि वो सिर्फ लास्ट 2 मंथ में ही ये प्रोजेक्ट डिलीवर प्लान हुए हैं, हो सकता है लास्ट 1 साल की ये प्लानिंग चल रही है कि आने वाले जो कमिंग ये जो करंट फाइनेंशियल ईयर चल रहा है इसके अंदर प्रोजेक्ट को लॉन्च करना है. तो ऐसे में प्रोजेक्ट को लॉन्च भी करना होगा, अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग लोगों को देना भी होगा, क्योंकि ये इस नेशन की नीड है, इसे आप डिस्टर्ब नहीं कर सकते. इसके अंदर जो चीजें हैं उनको करेक्ट करना पड़ेगा, जो प्राइस गैप है उसको करेक्ट करना पड़ेगा, और इसके ऊपर लगने वाले जो टैक्सेस हैं उनको रिड्यूस करना पड़ेगा, जिससे जो कॉमन मैन है उसको उसका घर मिल सके.
आपकी बात ये टैक्सेस की, यानी कि द अमाउंट ऑफ टैक्सेस दैट रियल एस्टेट इंडस्ट्री एक्चुअली एंड्स अप पेइंग एंड व्हिच इज अ क्वाइट high number, bringing it down is, I think, a valid demand. Just let me cut across to Sharad. Now, Sharad, I saw the press release where you say that you're very gung-ho on the real estate sector. It's a cyclical upswing, and you've actually set aside 2,000 crore rupees to invest in real estate in the next 1 year. So, look at what the developers are going through. There's intense cost pressure, but then you also have some of the good developers, which includes Ajmera Realty, hitting all-time highs in terms of sales, right? So how are you going to balance this out? Everyone's now starting to murmur about the margin compression in the business.
Yeah. Hi, Manisha. Thanks. It's like we have given a guidance that next year we look to put out around 2,000 crores. It's at the back of our existing portfolio, which is also in excess of 3,500 crores. We have almost 65 odd residential projects. So we are actually going through the entire journey, what both Pradeep and Dhaval has mentioned. So I think if you ask my view, a price rise will be healthy for the sector. For 2 reasons. One, we are coming out of a really long, tough cycle. Last time we saw the peak property prices in India was in 2013. From 2020 September onwards, there has been momentum, there has been velocity, but the price rise has not happened. I would say one is inflationary pressure that we are seeing. Second, I believe the sector can absorb a price rise if it is within a range of, say, between 10 to 15%. Now, the concern comes about how it is going to impact these sales. My view here is that it is going to, if it is within a range of 10 to 15%, it's going to impact positively on the demand. 2 segments. One is the fence sitters. People want to invest into asset class where they are seeing a price rise or appreciation. If you have 8-9 years of price stagnation, everybody is having a waiting game. Across the board, 10% price rise will get a lot of fence sitters or people who are waiting to come into it. I also believe investors which have kind of moved out of the sector around 2014-15 would start looking at it. A small proportion of investors in the industry is not a bad sign. And of course, the way both of them have mentioned, the cost pressures are immense. In our portfolio itself, we are seeing a price rise across the board of 20-25%. Taking a halt or stopping by on a running project could be difficult. But I would say there is, and as far as your question on putting out money, investing money of 2,000 crores, I would say it's a very small amount in the overall scheme of things. And we feel very confident given the way the whole recovery cycle is playing out.
All right. Dhaval, so price increases. Now, I read a press release which said NCR prices have increased about 10% overall. There have been pockets where the increases have been higher. There have been developers who've been able to increase even 20-25%. But I'm going to specifically look at Mumbai, which is may not have gone anywhere in the last 5-6 years, but the fact is it's an expensive market even for affordable. Now, because of the unprecedented project approvals which have happened, you had that 50% concession, there is a huge supply in the pipeline for just Greater Mumbai. Do you have room to increase prices, really?
Well, you're right, Manisha. The biggest, turnaround in the Mumbai real estate was the concession of 50%, which came in, and then we saw the kind of premiums being paid. While Mumbai being a mid segment and a higher, you're sure that the affordable segment also is on a higher bracket. We are seeing, little bit of price rise would not make too much of an impact, as Sharad said that, but overall, I think it will be, it depends on projects to projects. Probably some developers might just absorb part of the, increase in the cost. Some developers like, who is in the Borivali and Andheri belt or, at the Mira Road belt where the prices are very, very low. I mean, in terms of the segment of South Bombay, they might have to just increase the price more and move ahead. So, but the projects will launch because everyone's paid premium. They have done the things. Projects will come out in the market. But at the same time, some might absorb the price partly from their profit margins. Some might increase the price. So it's going to be a mixed bag depending on the developer to developer situation, what they are in and how much pressure they have.
Pradeep, for the branded developers like yours, the affordable housing scheme of Haryana, yes, you're hemmed in, you can't increase prices, but you are launching projects even in the mid to premium segment, right? In that, do you believe that branded players like you have the room to increase prices now? It's been stagnant for so long, the home buyer will be willing to pay that extra 5 to 10%?
Yeah, definitely, Anisha. They are paying, even we already rise around 10%. So I think so, मुझे नहीं लगता कि जैसे जो कस्टमर है उसको कोई भी प्रॉब्लम है 10 से 15% प्राइस को इंक्रीजमेंट देने में। तो अभी अगर हम जिस प्रोडक्ट की बात करें, जैसे दीनदयाल जन आवास योजना के नाम से जो हरियाणा की अफोर्डेबल प्लॉटेड हाउसिंग पॉलिसी है, उसके अंदर जो प्राइस है उसमें 10 से 15% का इंक्रीमेंट हमने किया है और इजीली जो कस्टमर है उसने उसे ऑब्जर्व कर भी लिया है। तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि तेजी की मार्केट के अंदर किसी भी कंडीशन के अंदर कस्टमर ऐसा कोई भी यानी रिस्ट्रिक्शन दिखाना चाहता है। सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी क्या है कि जो प्रोडक्ट है वो जो प्रोडक्ट उसे शो कर रहे हैं वो प्रोडक्ट उसे डिलीवर करें, तो कस्टमर जो है वो राइट साइज, राइट प्राइस और राइट डेवलपर को देने के लिए तैयार है।
Okay, Dhaval, this whole thing that 46% developers are now saying that they will not be able to deliver the projects in time is worrying me. Is it just posturing?
Well, I honestly don't think, as Pradeep ji rightly said, most of the developers and specifically ones who are in the business since a long time, everyone is bounded by RERA, everyone has the name to carry. I don't think they will really stop the project or try and say there might be a few hiccups or delays here and there, but it cannot be that because my the prices have increased so much, my profits have been wiped out, I will not be able to. They might not earn from it, they might lose a bit from their pockets, but I don't think at least I would say 90-95% of the developers would do that.
Will do. So it's more posturing and trying to put some pressure on the government. Sharad, last question, and I'm going to ask you this one. Stock markets have gone quite euphoric about the real estate stocks. And almost every listed stock now has a buy rating. So whether it's Macrotech, Shobha, Prestige, Ajmera, Realty, do you think that, most of the rise that we've seen or the positivity is already captured, or do you believe that we are in for a 5 to 6 year cyclical upswing and there's much more left on the table?
So, Manisha, I don't track the listed stocks and I'll not be able to comment on specific ones, but I can give you a sense on what is the reason or the investment themes that people are actually following in this. If you see over a period of last 8 years, like we discussed, the property prices have been stagnated, volumes have been muted. Now both volumes and the prices over a period of next couple of years will go up, which will make the revenue pool larger it will also make the profit pool larger. You would remember 10 years back, there were like 20,000 developers. So once that number of the number of the operating developers is reducing and the profit pool is increasing, the opinion here is that that profit pool will get distributed to lesser number of people. And that's where the larger branded developers will benefit. There also ability of having an economy of scale, but not only on the construction cost, but having on the cost of capital. All of that will benefit. I think it's a decadal story. I only believe that real estate is so fragmented that the consolidation that probably the markets would be wanting, it will not go to that level. It remains a very fragmented, it remains a very localized, but definitely much better than what it was a decade or 2 decades back.
Thank you, gentlemen, for taking us through some of those very important questions which a home buyer does want to get an insight into. Thank you for making the time. When we return, an important order by Maharera, where it permits a home buyer to exit a project with refund and interest because of false information given in the marketing brochure. Now, this is a big one for home buyer protection. Stay on with us to find out more.